It is the Riot Podcast. Good Tuesday to you, September 6th. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Isaiah. Welcome back from a long weekend.
Hopefully everybody had a wonderful weekend, and hopefully you had some sort of time off. Maybe not yesterday, but at least sometime over the weekends.
Anything you'd like to add?
Outside of just what happened on the show today.
Well,
How about we talk about how
Do you want to add
Isaiah has
anything, or-
not yet put down our food fight item from today?
Hey, you know what? Those chips were good. They were really good.
I don't think I've seen you like something as much as that.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I mean, there's been some of the ice creams that have been pretty good, a couple of the Mountain Dews that were solid, or the Pops in general. But these chips, by far, the best chips we've had on here.
Is this the best food fight you've ever, like, the most you've
No.
liked? What's the best one?
I mean, when we did like the Little Debbie Christmas tree cake, like, how am I going to pick chips over Christmas tree cake?
I feel like these chips have been like the most like, hey, great, I could just have something to munch on.
Yeah.
Not like,
Very
I feel bad.
snack-esque.
I ate ice cream all day. But we tried the Lay's crossover chips. These are the Fritos chili cheese ones. And if you're watching this podcast, click to the video before when you're done to watch that of it. And then if you're listening to this podcast, just keep listening because it's included in there.
Today on the show, we talked about possibly not quietly quitting, but quietly being fired.
Which should be worse? I guess probably the firing one.
I would say the firing, yeah. Quietly quitting sounds kind of nice.
But I
Because
think
you're still keeping your job.
Because you still have your job, you just aren't doing anything.
I think kind of like the quiet firing doesn't sound so bad.
Because they haven't fired you yet.
And they may never. They just don't mind having you there. They just don't want you to actually like really be involved. So like, what's better than that? They're basically asking you to quiet quit.
That's true.
They're still going to keep paying you. They just don't want you to actually have any voice in what happens at the job. And like, that sounds great.
Unless you really
paid-
like your job and like you like want to like move up in like the positions, like you just never will. Obviously, they won't like promote you. They talk about that in the article. It was like you're never gonna get like you're gonna go 5 years without getting a raise. All these different things that like they're not gonna show you pretty much like any appreciation, but you can keep working.
You can keep working. Well, I feel it's awful. Like, we have to stop because pretty soon you're going to go to work and no one will be able to go to work and not worry about every little thing. You're like, is this quiet quitting? Is this quiet firing? You know, like, I think we're going to make people paranoid.
Pretty soon. I'm already that way.
Well, not everybody else is, though. And I think this is way more in like a corporate work environment. So it must be a lot harder just to go to work and have all that stuff.
Yeah, all the niceties that aren't really, like you just never can tell with people in the business world.
We also talked about a maid of honor who unfortunately got pretty much kicked out of a wedding. And the big reason was because of the cost of the Bachelorette Party.
She got blackballed from the wedding.
And it's bad because it's not like she was saying, hey, let's not do nothing. She was just bringing up, hey, maybe this price is too much money. But you wonder if their friendship was so strong, but if that person was going to be the maid of honor, you would think.
But do you think we never explored this? This woman is gone viral on TikTok and whatever.
The maid of honor who was kicked out of the wedding.
For talking about what happened with the wedding. Was that was that bad friend etiquette also to just totally dump now on your former friend for kicking you out of the wedding?
Oh, now it's thanks to
I feel
TikTok.
like it's gone now.
It's part of the therapy of getting, over it. You're supposed to make a video about it.
Yeah, if you're going to have to go through something like that, you should at least get some views and likes and support.
Yeah, I feel like if I go from like best man to out of the bachelor party to out of the entire wedding.
And no longer a friend.
We aren't really friends anymore,
Yeah.
I don't think, at that point. Like, I don't really know where we go from that whole situation other than, like, me just, like, trashing you on TikTok, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know
It's
the
a part
full...
of the healing process.
Yeah, that's right. You deserve it.
Yeah, another thing we talked about during the show today was Ben Affleck quoting a line from his own movie about his wedding with J-Lo.
Talking of weddings.
I know,
What did you make of that, Isaiah?
I didn't listen to a single word of it.
What? I don't mean his wedding speech. I mean, what do you mean? Not.
I think he means us. He wasn't
I
listening
know.
to us.
I wasn't
But
listening to you guys.
What do you make of Ben Affleck recycling or quoting a line that he wrote and came up with in one of his movies? and then putting that in his wedding reception speech. Is that tacky or?
I don't know. It seems kind of narcissistic a little bit, and I'm a pretty narcissistic guy, but that seems pretty bad.
Don't you think it would have been worse if it was in the wedding? Like,
if it was
in the vows.
Yeah, if it was in like the actual wedding, like it was at the reception, which I guess isn't as bad, but it's still kind of. I think that's kind of tacky. Yeah.
But do you ever have like where you just come up with something really good and then you use it once and then it's like, man, I wish I could use this again because that was really cool. But because it was out in the world, like you feel like you can't come back to it.
Yeah,
like
I feel that.
Comedians perform the same set, over and over again. Why
but that's their job, though. It's like different. I feel like that'd be like if I like went home and I was like, listen to this. I said this really funny thing on air today, and let me tell it to you. And the next day I was like, remember when I said that really funny thing on air yesterday? That was so funny.
Well, that's different though. This is this would be a very important speech at a wedding, and it's your moment. It's your own wedding. So I don't know. I feel like we'll never know because we're not Ben Affleck. We don't write movies.
Yeah, I just think when you come up with something really good, you should use it up as much as possible. And now, it's debatable whether what Ben Affleck came up with was really good in this regard.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's just a line from a movie.
If he feels it's really good, then he shouldn't have to just have it be in one movie and then never used again.
Sure.
Let him keep going with it.
Just keep using it, man. Yeah. Whenever you want to whip it out, just whip it out. Who knows?
Why don't you just put it in another movie?
That's right.
Yeah, another movie. I don't know. Your kid's first day of school, graduation, whatever it is, just use it.
It is a very generic line, too. Like, it could apply to all of those things.
It could go back into a new one. You wouldn't even notice it. Well, thank you guys for clicking on and enjoying the podcast today. Like we mentioned, make sure you check out our food fight for the Lay's crossover chips. And we've got more food fights prepared and planned for this week. So just get updated by subscribing and getting notifications set up through RadioU Riot on Facebook and our YouTube channel.
So you did have something to add.
I didn't have anything to add.
You did. You just added a lot.
Hey, go have another chip, okay?
I added a ton.
We're going to go put the chips away, and by that, it'll just mean eat some more.
And we will catch you later.
Have a good day.
See you guys.
This is Radio U's Worst of the Riot.
You guys ever, this thing going on called quiet quitting, right?
Yeah, we talked about it.
We've talked about quiet quitting.
Not doing it, but we talked about it.
Yeah. It's where you kind of just phone it in at work, basically. You're still coming to work. You know they're probably not going to fire you, but it's not like you're going to do your job. You're just going to be there.
Well, you're doing the bottom amount.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing what you're getting paid to do, right?
Exactly.
You're doing that much.
Is what I thought everybody was doing anyways. You do the bare minimum that they require you to do, and that's it, right?
Well, we realized Hudson's been doing this for a long time.
I don't understand what is this quiet quitting. This is just how I live my life. But
I think it also depends on the job style. And I don't know if radio and what we do as our responsibilities, I don't think quiet quitting quite works in the same way.
Yeah.
But like it's more if you're in a corporate job.
Sure. So that's quiet quitting. But have you guys heard of quiet firing?
What's this?
Well, it's like the flip side. It's the reverse. Instead of you quiet quitting on your job, going into work and saying, you know what, they're not going to fire me, so I'll just basically do pretty darn close to nothing. It's your job saying, we're going to give them pretty darn close to nothing to do and shut them out of everything until they want to quit. But then we don't have to fire them.
Or to wait till there's someone else.
Right. We'll just make them so upset and just feel so, some of the words that are used are isolated is one of them, where you just feel so isolated, gaslit, ignored that you just wind up finding that you're not happy there and you want to quit. But then, see, it saves them the trouble, supposedly, of having to fire you, offer severance and whatever, and it keeps the role filled in case they want to look for somebody else.
Sure. You mean that even the management doesn't want to have the meeting to fire you?
Yeah, exactly. They're avoiding it. They're avoiding it just like you. So some of the signs, if you are...
Now, don't look into it, guys, and make yourself worry in case you're like, wait a minute.
I'm looking at this, and I feel like a lot of people are all of a sudden going to think they're being quiet fired right now because here are some of the signs of being quiet fired. You don't receive feedback or praise?
Oh.
Who gets praise at work?
Nobody.
Oh my gosh.
Only the new guys.
You don't get you get raises of 3% or less, while others are getting much more. Well, you're not supposed to talk about your raises.
Yeah, you're not supposed to know.
But everybody does. Your one-on-ones are frequently canceled or shuffled around. Isn't that normal too? Like, who wants to have a one-on-one meeting?
Well, I think that you don't judge it just by that. Because again, everything just is always crazy, I think, in most workplaces. So if they cancel your meetings and stuff, don't necessarily see that as a sign.
What about getting shut out, not invited to work on cool projects? Your job has cool projects?
Again,
That's what I'm thinking.
This is not radio.
I don't even want invited to the cool projects. I'd rather not be involved in the cool
That
projects.
sounds like work, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Who wants to be involved in that?
I think this is more for corporate stuff because again, quiet quitting and quiet firing isn't kind of in the media wheelhouse.
Yeah, we're just all quietly, loudly doing our jobs, but barely. That's
Vocally
just
loudly.
What we do. What about this is big? Not being looped in on information critical to your job, and your boss never discussing your career progression. That's super corporate, right?
Yeah, it is.
Bosses don't do that in like most jobs. You're not walking into McDonald's and the boss is like, let's talk about how your career is progressing. That's not how that works.
Well, maybe it's nice if it was, but again, it depends on where you're working at.
I don't know. You think if your boss at McDonald's, your manager was like, I want to talk about your career progression, then you'd be like,
If they're making you
dude,
manager
it's
or something."
McDonald's. Let's chill out here. My career progression is making fries until I can get a job that doesn't involve me being at McDonald's every day.
Hey, you're not going to be a
Smelling like
manager with that
oil.
attitude.
Hey,
all
some people
right?
love working at McDonald's.
Yeah,
There's people
right.
listening right now that are
That's
like,
that
I hope
guy.
I get a raise at McDonald's. So if that's you, that's good for you.
And you
I
want
think-
some communication.
I think you like working at McDonald's because it doesn't have the career progression meetings.
Dude, you can
it's
make
just
some
like
good money.
you come in, you dump fries in the fryer, you talk to annoying customers, and that's your day.
Hey,
you know?
you're basing that off your job at Panera. that
Yeah,
you had.
exactly.
You're just projecting that onto
I
them.
come in, I make the espresso drinks, I listen to the annoying customers, and that's my day.
Yeah, that was your job.
That was it. And I didn't want a conversation with Sean, the district manager, about how I see myself in 5 years because it's not a Panera.
Well, congratulations on all your success. For somebody, it might be, all right?
So they say that you're supposed to be then maybe having tougher conversations with your workplace if you feel like maybe after your time of trying quietly, not doing enough, and you're afraid you might be quietly getting fired, you just want to have some conversations.
I feel like just based off of this, everybody at their job, whether they can convince themselves either they're quiet quitting or they're getting quiet fired. It's one of the two. And oftentimes it's probably both.
Actually,
And that's
going at the
saddest
same time.
Uh-huh. And so if one of you would just speak up, you could just be done with the whole charade.
Find more Riot content online. Riot.radiou.com.
Planning a bachelor party, a bachelorette party, it's a lot of pressure. You guys ever feel that?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's like any other party, but now if you're especially
No.
putting it on for someone else, then you have extra pressure on you.
You would think if you're so customarily, I think for the bachelor or bachelorette party, it's the best man and the maid of honor that are supposed to plan those and take care of that, isn't it?
I think so.
So if you're thinking
Maybe not pay for it, but
but plan it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're thinking I'm the bachelorette or I'm the maid of honor, I should be able to plan this party. I should know this person pretty well. They asked me to be their maid of honor, and our friendship should really stand up. You know, even if it's not the best bachelorette party, it's not exactly what the person wanted. We should still have a pretty strong friendship. It can withstand that, right? But I don't know if you've guys seen this TikTok going around. It's kind of a series of TikToks of a woman who was named the maid of honor, asked to be the maid of honor for her friend's wedding. And when it came time to plan the bachelorette party, she was involving or received instructions from the bachelorette herself, who had like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. And the maid of honor said, well, hold up. that's going to be really expensive for everybody.
Yeah.
In this case, over $1,000 per person.
$1,000
For the bachelorette party.
For the party?
Apparently, it sounds like it's a destination bachelorette party.
Have they tried a party at home?
Yeah, right. Well, it's a wedding.
Please tell me you never spent $1,000.
It's supposed to happen once in your life. You're supposed to get one, and that's it.
No, that's not it.
And so she raised this concern. She's like, well, listen, if you're going to try to do that bachelorette party, that's really expensive for people. And she said, I don't care. I'm the bachelorette. This is what I want. And so the maid of honor went ahead and surveyed the other people involved, the other people in the wedding party that would be going. And they said, well, we probably want to spend about a max of $500 is what the people said.
And that's still too much.
And so she raised this again to the bachelorette, and the bachelorette wound up uninviting her from the wedding, blocking her on all socials and blocking her number. And then they were, according to the wedding decorations and stuff, or the bachelorette party decorations, whoever went on to plan the party, they were making this gal.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, for planning the party. So what is is the bachelorette being a bridezilla in this case, or?
No, you're just being a bad friend.
Well, that's for sure, right?
That's awful.
What do you think, Isaiah? You've been to bachelor parties before.
I think it's a combination of both. I think that the whole price thing, I don't really think that's that big of a deal. I was just invited to a bachelor party recently, and they said just so you know, if you want to be involved, you expect to spend $1,400. Just expect to spend that much.
Uh-huh.
And so as long as you're upfront with that, if you're planning to have a destination bachelor party or bachelorette party, then just know you might want to invite more people than you think might actually be able to come.
Because they won't come.
Because there's gonna be people that back out.
Yeah.
If you want 8 people to be there, you should invite 12 of your friends. If you want 15 people to be there, invite 20 of your friends, and then whoever can make it will. But just know everybody's not gonna be able to come. But at the end of the day, too, just the whole blocking thing, uninviting to the wedding, that's a little bit over the top.
Yeah, this feels.
But it's hard if you're the best man or the maid of honor, you have to go.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that much money,
Yeah.
then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah,
And that's just a small part. Never say yes if someone asks you to be in a wedding. That's just a small part. You still got to pay for other things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is. You don't realize how much you're signing up for when you have to be involved in a wedding. But what is Nikki? Have you ever been involved in a bachelorette party? For me, I was a best man once, and I was under the impression, at least the way we did it, was the best man, or no, the guy, the bachelor, he doesn't get to plan his party.
No.
He wasn't supposed to know until it was happening. So what does this gal do and hear this bachelorette saying, this is what I want for my bachelorette party?
I think that happens a lot now, though. That happens way more than it used to. People if they just want to plan their own, they don't really put the person, the best man or maid of honor in charge nearly as much as I feel they used to, because I feel that happens all the time.
Well, that's.
I feel like you got to work on your friends then, because that's too much.
Hey, you know what?
What's wrong with this generation?
Hey, that's how it goes sometimes. If you want something specific, that's how people do it. I can imagine a million bachelorettes. They're this is exactly what I want it to be, and if it's not exactly what she wants, then it's gonna ruin the whole trip. She might as well not even went.
Well, it's really easy to say that when you're not paying for it.
That's true.
I want to plan this party that I don't have to pay for, and I want it to be exactly the way I want.
Well, it's her big day.
If anybody asks you to be a part of, not even wedding stuff, just any party in general, you might just want to consider saying no in a very nice way. Otherwise, you can maybe not have those friends anymore.
Listen, it's for our friendship.
This is why you guys don't have any friends. This is exactly why neither of you have any friends.
Because our money and our time is more valuable than any relationship could possibly ever
Well,
be.
there you go.
You mean because we're speaking up?
That's
right.
That's okay.
Our feelings are important too,
That's
right,
true.
Nikki?
Yep, I'll agree with you on this one.
This is The Riot. Radio U.
Now, this weekend was supposed to be all fun and games. It was, a holiday weekend. We're going to have a grand old time. We're going to get a moon launch. And then we find out on Saturday morning, after all the anticipation.
Was it supposed to be Saturday?
It was supposed to be Saturday.
That was a reschedule for the Artemis stuff from last Monday.
Yeah, NASA initially was supposed to, way back on August 29th, do the space launch where they were sending the Artemis 1 up around the moon. And then that didn't work.
Not to land on the moon, but to go around it.
Then Saturday was supposed to be the next day, but that failed because they had a persistent hydrogen leak in one of the rockets, it looks like. So now, here we are sitting here on Tuesday, and we still don't even know when we're going to get our moon launch to take place.
I feel like if you've ever had someone, like you're in charge of a project, it's a pretty big project, and everybody's waiting on you.
Yeah.
Maybe at this point you're like, hey, stop asking me. So maybe NASA's like, stop asking us.
But we the people, this is our taxpayer money, and we want to see a moon launch.
Yeah, but if there's a leak and they can't fix it, they need to fix it first.
How many years have they had to prepare for this thing? You know? Like, this is years in the making. And you can't, on the day of the launch, you can't. I mean, it's not like it's the weather that's causing an issue here. You can't get these rockets all ship shape, ready to take off so that we can all enjoy a nice rocket launch,
Sure.
We're all sitting here.
They're waiting.
We had our lawn chairs out. We had our sunglasses on, our Artemis moon launch hats, and we're ready. And now twice you pulled the rug right out from under us, and now you're not even telling us when. Are we ever going to get this? Is this ever going to happen?
Well, they say that Artemis is you're like, hey, who cares about moon stuff? I know, I understand too. But when reading this, they say it's a very expensive, extremely delayed project because Artemis is supposed to, it's uncrewed at this point. There's no crew in there, but it's supposed to be the main test flight so that the future mission after will carry actual astronauts to the moon.
Right.
So they want to get it right, and they're just not, they say they have this leak and they need to fix it.
I suppose we haven't spent enough money. They're going to need a few more billion to fix up these leaks, and then maybe they'll actually be able to launch it.
Well, can you imagine if it went up and blew up like that? This thing is.
There's nobody inside.
I know, but it's so expensive. They don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's not doing us any good just sitting on the ground, is it?
All right, fine. You're not the one then for NASA to talk to.
I am upset. This is. I would like my money back.
You didn't put any money in.
I would like a refund for this moon launch because. Not just on my taxes either, for all the parties that I planned and the schedule that I have set up so that I could watch these things and then nothing happens.
Okay, well, now that we know, I'm just curious how much the Artemis thing costs.
Oh, you don't want to know.
They say that each of the first few flights for it will cost more than $4 billion.
Sheesh.
And that does not include the billions in development money. So you're right, you do have money in that.
Exactly.
It's
That's
all of our
what
money.
I'm saying.
So they don't want it to blow up.
Oh, when you're spending that much money, you make things stick to the schedule.
What's a few more billion?
You don't tell people. This is like delaying a movie. You don't tell people it's coming out and then push it back another year and a half.
Okay.
You put it out and let us be the judge of whether it's successful or not.
Okay.
So you've been warned, NASA.
They hear you loud and clear.
Your approval rating is dipping in my household.
What's the Rotten Tomatoes score?
It's not good.
Hudson, Nikki, The Riot on Radio U.
Obviously, lots of college football happened over the weekend. It was a good weekend of college football, very entertaining.
How many games did you guys each watch?
I probably watched like 4.
4, okay.
I think I was pretty, like I at least had something on in some way, pretty much wall to wall on Saturday, all the way until like the end of the primetime games. And then I also took a peek at LSU Florida State on Sunday night as well.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was fun to watch in a very not fun to watch way. Like just two teams that just absolutely want to lose.
Yeah.
They just could not bring themselves to actually try to win the game. So I wanted to ask you guys about, you guys are both Ohio State fans.
Sure.
That was the biggest game of the weekend, Ohio State versus Notre Dame. What was each of you give me your maximum stress level during that game? Because Notre Dame had the lead at halftime.
When was the most stressful part?
Yeah, and how on a scale of 10, basically I think we're going to lose to 1, whatever.
Well,
there's no, 1 is playing Arkansas State this week. Where was your stress level when it was the worst?
Well, can I ask everybody, because I asked you guys, and I feel like you guys weren't really watching to maybe say yes or no, but did anybody else feel like the audio was really bad for the commentary during the Buckeye game? Like anyone, and I'm just waiting for them to say yes.
Probably.
The text to roll in.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was super bad, so I was watching in the beginning, and I just kind of got annoyed at anytime someone was talking. It was just the music and stuff. But it was a stressful, game up until. But I had a really good dip that I made, so I just ate my way through it. It was fine.
That can ease a lot of stress, can't
Or maybe
it?
that's why I wasn't hearing things.
Yeah, exactly. You're really focused on the dip.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. I was never really stressed that we were going to lose during the game. I felt pretty confident the whole time. Notre Dame's offense just wasn't really ever doing anything.
Yeah,
And
struggled.
I knew at some point our offense would figure it out and we would go down the field and score. So throughout the whole game, I was never really worried at any point that we were going to lose. I was just hoping that they were going to win by more.
That's the worst thing I
sure.
could have possibly heard.
Yeah.
I wanted to at least hear, well, you know what? We got the win, but man, I was getting nervous. It was a tough game for me to watch. Why even watch if you're never nervous?
Well,
I mean,
think
I would have been nervous had it been 3 minutes left and they still had the lead. But when we went into the fourth quarter and then once we started to kind of power through them, our offense just kind of started to kick it in gear. I knew once we were able to run down the field, it was just game over.
I thought Notre Dame looked better than I assumed based on everybody's commentary
That's
about
right.
them ahead of time. I thought they looked pretty good.
But doesn't that that's the tough thing, and that's why it's especially difficult after one game of the year. Going into it, it was Ohio State's gonna, and this wasn't even just Ohio State fans. This is just everybody. Ohio State's gonna steamroll them. The line was 17 points. They're gonna crush them. Notre Dame, they're ranked 5, but especially their defense, it kind of sucks. And then after the game, you watch the game, and Ohio State eventually, they just kind of got rolling, but they only scored 21 points. So is it the Notre Dame's offense sucks? Is it Ohio State's defense is really good? Is it Ohio State's actually not very good? And they're both not not as good as you thought, at least. It's just too hard to tell after one game.
Well,
But
it takes everybody a little bit to warm up.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah,
sure.
we're good. And that's what
Good.
it's funny too, because I was reading through Twitter and stuff yesterday, and it was Ohio State really would be the only team to beat a top 5 opponent by more than 10 points, and people say, is Ohio State as good as we thought they'd be? And that's kind of how it goes during the season.
yeah, well, so that happened. And then also what happened was something that didn't take place on the field, but we got a big announcement, is that the college football playoff has decided that they are going to expand to 12 teams. Not this season.
Oh, okay.
But in the future, a couple of years from now, by 2026, they say they're going to expand to 12 teams. We like that?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
Nikki?
guess why not?
Uh-huh. Isaiah?
I think it's fun. I don't know how to feel about it. It's weird. I don't know. I like the part of college football where it's the regular season's really important. Obviously, this makes the regular season a little bit less important because you don't have to try to win every single game to get into the college football playoff, which kind of takes a little bit away of how it goes. But at the same time, it'll be exciting to have more teams in the playoff for the fact that the playoffs are always more fun.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword because obviously if you have the playoff, more teams have a chance to get in, and so that makes, like Isaiah said, your season doesn't end if you lose in week 1. For Oregon, they probably aren't going to make the playoff after losing to Georgia in their first game.
Oh, I heard they were bad.
Yeah. Well, especially because they lost 49-3. But
What? I didn't hear
It's a
that.
blowout.
Oh,
and they were supposed to have a good defense too,
Oh,
so that was
no.
rough. But then again, the Ohio State Notre Dame game almost rendered meaningless because these two in a 12-team format, they're probably both going to make it in. They could just literally skip half their games and they'd still make it in. So it is kind of it ruins some of those big games, but hopefully it'll give us other big games. And then in the playoffs, obviously we get more big games.
But that's not for a few years.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that now. But it's just interesting. So, well, isn't it great to have it back though?
It is so grand.
It's so great.
It's so great watching the Buckeyes win. There's nothing better.
Well, fortunately, they play Arkansas State this
There's
week.
other
so-
Keep it rolling.
too.
It's the worst of the riot on Radio U.
Ben Affleck. He's probably one of the most interesting celebrities, wouldn't you say?
I never get the feeling like maybe he's the nicest, but I don't know.
I feel like he's always got something going on in his personal life. He's very volatile.
I always see they're doing shots of him yelling.
Yeah.
I just assume he has a lot.
He's just got a lot going on. And of course, every so often he'll just absolutely hit it out of the park with a movie, but also every so often he'll launch a complete dud. So you just never know what you're going to get Ben Affleck. But maybe that's about to change now that he's settled down and he's married to Jennifer Lopez. But did you see that during their wedding reception, in his speech, he gave a speech at the wedding reception.
Sure.
He quoted a movie that he wrote.
He wrote?
He
Was it his line in the movie?
He quoted a movie that he wrote from a movie that he was in. Do you remember Live by Night?
I don't think I do.
That was like it was a Ben Affleck gangster type movie.
Yeah.
What is it? Probably like 5 years old, maybe, if that. It did not do well. It was one of those duds I was talking about. 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. Didn't make a lot of money. Came out in 2016. But he quoted the line. He said, "This is heaven right here. We're in it now."
During his speech?
That's in the movie Live by Night, which he wrote, and that's also in his wedding reception speech he was given to J-Lo.
At first, I feel like, of course, that just kind of sums up what type of guy he is. But then they were saying that that's one of her favorite lines that he's ever written.
Yeah.
So it actually means something between them. So it's not as bad.
Do you think that's kind of like egotistical to use your own material?
It is.
To reuse it, recycle it?
If the other person was not in on it. So since, again, that was something that they enjoyed from a movie that he wrote, it's not so bad.
Well, what about this? I actually think, I don't know in this instance, but I can see why it would work, because think about this, Nikki. Constantly on this show, I'm firing off jokes, one-liners,
One after
wisdom.
another, yep.
Yeah, I've got all these brilliant things I say. And what? Because I say it once on the show, I'm never supposed to be able to go back to it and reuse it again.
Do you have
It's my own brilliant mind. And once I come up with something, I get Ben Affleck. He comes up with this one line. I don't know if it's that brilliant. Clearly, the critics didn't think so, because the movie and the audience, the movie didn't do very well. But he's like, why should I let this brilliant line that I came up with, and it only gets to be in this one movie?
That's a good point.
Let me keep using it to get some more, give it some legs, get something out of it. And so I get where he's coming from.
Well, you have a Google Doc where you put in all your best lines so you can bring them back again.
Just in case they ever are applicable once again.
Or keep the audio files.
Yeah, but then again, since I'm just constantly coming up with brilliant stuff, so a lot of times it's just off the rip, and so I don't need to have a Rolodex of previous great things I've said, because I know I'll just say more great things when the time arises.
There's the humbleness right there. Just like it seems like Ben Affleck
Me and Ben Affleck. I get him. I get it.
Thanks for watching the worst of the riot. Since you made it this far, you might as well like, subscribe, and check out riot.radiou.com for even more riot.